Hi, today we're going to be talking about the title of this is Why Am I So Numb? And we're talking about understanding and healing emotional numbness. And so that's what we're looking at today and what we're exploring. And this can be really a very strange place to find yourself when you're just so numb. Some people are really afraid of this spot. Some people are very comfortable with this spot. There's so many ways to interact with this, and it's really important to understand it and to understand what's going on from the brain's perspective so that you can heal and that you can reconnect with your emotions and really feel present again, feel connected, feel like you really can use your emotional intelligence, not just it's like part of your hand going numb. It's like you're touching the world, but you can't feel anything. That's what happens when we're emotionally numb as well. It's so we're still doing all the things, but there's just no emotional sensation. And so this is actually kind of it's a helpful thing the brain is doing. It's also really challenging, and it's a sign that there are some challenges happening. I'm going to talk about what those are and how to help do this. So because we don't want to need numbness, right? But from the work we've done with dentistry, if you've been to the dentist, that numbness is good, but we don't want to have to need it with our life. Okay, we don't want to have to need it in our relationships, in our marriage, with our children, at work. We don't want to need it at home. We want to be able to stay present and connected and really feel what's going on. So, I'm Rachel McLeod. I'm a mental health therapist and an emotional wellness coach. And I specialize in helping people do their brain work for resolving symptoms of anxiety, depression, and traumatic stress, like numbness. And the brain has a really beautiful process for this. That process gets stopped and blocked, and so the brain cannot resolve these issues. And so I really specialize in helping people get that brain process up and running so that all this numbness turns into health and wellness, which is what it's designed to do, and really create thriving. And so, if you've got a lot of numbness and we get this process up and running, you're going to have a lot of growth, a lot of new insights, epiphanies. You're going to have a lot of transformations. And I'm going to talk about why. And this is my, I don't know if you can hear this, but this is the 12 o'clock. I live in one of those small towns where every day at 12, there's a little siren. And so, when my kids were growing up, this is the nap time siren. So anyway, many of my clients when they're in here, they're like, "Are we in danger?" I don't even think about it anymore. Anyway, um, okay, so let's talk about what this numbness is and what's going on with the brain. And I do want to tell you also that this process is not the how do we unblock this process so the brain can actually resolve these and use this for growth and health and wellness is we're really talking to a specific part of the brain that we don't typically talk to in traditional talk therapy. And talking to this part of the brain is very different. Its language is different. We actually use the body to communicate with it and to influence it to allow to unblock this process and allow healing to happen. And so the interventions we use are very different. We're tapping, we're breathing, we're doing body-based interventions because of the safety signals we're trying to send to that part of the brain that's closing out healing and keeping the numbness intact and growing. Okay, so yeah, okay. Having said that, here we go. Okay, so numbness is a survival strategy that your brain uses to keep you safe, and I always interpret it to mean, and test me if I'm wrong. I want to hear your feedback here. I always interpret this to mean that there's a lot of pain right now. There's a lot of pain in there. There's a lot of distress. Distress would fire off the pain neurons in the brain enough so that there's pain, right? There's the survival system, that part of the brain that stops the healing process is registering pain, and so it closes down the healing process. So the pain is not getting processed and it's hanging out in the body. And it's active, and so it continues to actively send distress and pain signals up to your brain because it wants to tell your brain all about it. And these parts, the executive functioning parts of the brain, are like, yes, tell me. They don't care. That's not a pain neuron place. I want all the data. Tell me all the things. Where does it hurt? Where is it in your body? It wants those things, but all that numbness, whatever that is, and it is something. We're going to talk about that. As that's moving through the system, it gets flagged as pain. Your survival system reacts to it and pushes it back down to the body. So the body did not get to complete the report. The body didn't get to complete talking about what this stuff is. And on top of that, the brain's like, there's a lot of pain in our body. And we have to go take care of our kids. We have to go to work. We have to brush our teeth. We have to pay our bills. We have to clean our house. There's things we have to do, and we're in agonizing pain. It's too much. We're in too much pain to function. So that part of the brain helps us out by putting the numbness on there. Little numbing chemical or solution starts running through the body, and you have numbness. So that numbness is a protective strategy. It is not your brain trying to be a brat, a terrorist. It's your brain is actually trying to be helpful. Now, it's not very helpful when your life is covered in numbness and you're like, I'm fine and safe. And here your brain is like acting like you're not. And it's right, because if we come underneath several layers to the body's still trying to send up old material that's never made it past the survival system ever. That might even be 20, 10, 50 years old by now. And it's still sending it up, and it will never stop. We're talking a highly neurotic system here, and your body's job neurotically is to finish the work. It needs to tell you all about what happened in the 1900s, in the early 2000s. That's how it makes sense of the world, and that's its design. It's not going to stop doing that. And so in the survival system's response to that, it's like, hey, we're not processing that. I don't want to hear about it. I don't want to know about it. I'm numbing you out so we can get along with our life. We have things to do. We can't be sitting here listening to you tell stories on repeat that are never getting processed. So it's like your survival system knows that the processor is stopped and blocked because it's doing that. And it knows that it's too painful for your system to actually work with. And so it's just repressing it and hiding it in their numbness. So it's still there, and it's actually stuff we want to go and get processed. We want to escort whatever is numb through the brain's natural healing process. And that's a weird thing, because if it's numb, how can you feel it, right? It's numb, so what are we going to do with this? And so there's a little different path here. But the numbness is the feeling. So that's actually what we're targeting. We're actually targeting the numbness, and we're actually going to process a lot of that stuff. We're going to pay attention to the numbness, and we're going to process. We're not going to say, hey, tell me all the things, because I'm going to tell you what, that stuff's really painful to your nervous system and could knock you out. It could make you want to die. It could be, your survival system is not wrong when it's protecting you. It is right. And if your survival system believes that this thing's going to kill you, I'm going to agree with it. I'm not fighting, because we lose too many people to pain, emotional pain. And we don't need to do that. Your brain is right. This is painful. We need to deal with it very carefully, and very kindly, and with honor and some respect. I give numbness tons of respect. I'm not like, brain, why are you making all this stuff numb? I'm like, yeah, okay, this is numb. Okay, it doesn't look like a problem to me, but I can honor that from your perspective, this is a major problem, and I'm not going to disturb it too much. But what can we do to process it? And the answer is a lot. We can do a lot. And we're going to. And so when there's a lot of numbness, so we also can feel, this is also part of dissociation, that our brain is dissociating us from it. It's disconnecting us from the pain. Just like if you were to grab a burning pot, your brain would make you let go of this. That's just a pain response. And it's a protective one at that. And I like that one. I don't want you to fight your brain about what's numb and what's not. And I also want to respect that when parts of our emotional experience go numb, it can be really scary. It's like, where is this? What's going on? If you're more of an avoidant personality, you're comfortable with this. You're like, numbness. How you doing, old friend? It can be really part of how you've coped and your survival strategy and your comfort zone. And so people that have this, it's like, go hang out and be numb, and I want you to process, because why did you get sent to numbness land? So we're processing, but we eventually want to come back out. And we can provide the brain enough support that it's willing to go out there again. And but we don't want to make it wrong to be in there. And if you've got an avoidant partner that's chilling in numbness land, and you're like, get out of there, we really want to support them to process why they're there, so they can get out without violating their brain, their survival system. You don't want to make your survival system mad. At this point, when we've got disorders, we want to really support the survival system to learn it's not that painful out here. It is to it, right? But we're going to process that pain so that the pain is not firing off so much. And so then it says, oh, there's not that much pain here. We can take this numbness off. Yes, that's exactly what we want to see. We're going to support the brain to do that. Okay, that's really important. And that's really working collaboratively we are not going to create health and wellness by abusing ourselves. That's not a thing. We're not going to create health and wellness by abusing our survival system. You're trying to keep me safe. You think out of your best judgment this is the right strategy for us? No, I'm pushing past it. That's an inner world conflict and war. We're not getting health and wellness out of that. We're going to get survival and more survival strategies, and we're going to create a bigger divide between you and your survival system. Absolutely not on my watch. I want you paired up with your survival system and you guys working together. Oftentimes working with the survival system is slower, but it creates lasting health and wellness. And when I say slower, this part of the brain will respond instantly when it receives safety signalings. So, like, for instance, I was working with somebody the other day that was really afraid. They were having a lot of flashbacks. We did a round of emotional freedom techniques without any words, because I'm not trying to do the words for many reasons. I have a training on that. And for people with complex PTSD, anxiety, and depression, I throw that out because we're trying to do a lot of things at once, because we got a lot of work to do. So the words can really slow us down. That's the abbreviated version of this. But we did one round, and the pressure in their chest got lighter, right? So their survival system allowed that the chest, our body has to send all the signaling up, and when it stops, when it's finished, it's finishes from the body. You can't find it in the body anymore. And so we applied a little bit of intervention, and it totally lessened in the chest, and it was totally gone from the head. And so it's like we helped it finish. And so now all that stuff's turned off, where before it just stays there. It just pulses all day long, right? You know this. And so it's just like it's not finishing. And we don't want to stop it. We don't want to suppress it. That's how we get the numbness. And so not that you're wrong for having numbness. It's just that's not a healing thing. Numbness is and repression is a survival strategy. There we go, the survival strategy. And so it's not a healing strategy. Healing it is helping it finish, helping it digest. And so we're going to use an intervention. So when I tell you it takes longer, I'm talking about 30 seconds. And the more you provide this, if you come out of wrestling and arguing with your brain and just provide it a little bit of support, you'll watch it shift quickly. 5 minutes, 2 minutes, 30 seconds. And so, but it's about playing nice with your survival system. It's about valuing and honoring your survival system enough to take a couple extra minutes with it so it can get on board. And sometimes, right, it takes a little bit of time to get to a root issue where you can really process it that quickly. And so we really want to learn how to support this process so that your mind-body system can work together to heal. Right? And so, so that survival system, that learning to, I did, when I was raising children, I would find that, and I was being a stay-at-home mom, that laundry would get me. And I would constantly have to tell myself, okay, I'm moving at the speed of the laundry, because I wanted to leave the laundry in the dust. The laundry's too dang slow for me. I can't be bothered. And now I have mountains, and it's all backed up because I'm not moving at the speed of the laundry. And so this is really where we really want to slow down a little bit and move at the speed of your survival system. In the beginning, it's slow. just because you got to give that. But every time you do it, it gets faster and faster, and then your brain starts taking it on itself. It starts creating subconscious programming for pain processing, and it's just doing it night and day very successfully. So it's worth the investment to get your survival system processing again, allowing processing again. And so it's worth it. It seems a little longer, and when people are working through my process of resolving disorders, we're applying interventions for about 2 hours a day, and we'll go hard for about 2 to 6 months. And that's for PTSD stuff. Complex PTSD, same thing. But if you've got ongoing trauma, it's a whole different ballgame. I have a video about that. If you're experiencing a lot of trauma now, your brain is walking a different path for a very good reason. We want to support that process. And I promise you, it can be so annoying to have to take consideration of these other parts of you that you're not used to working with. And so we really want to build that endurance and that ability to pace with it, so that we can create unity and wholeness instead of further separations, right? Also, why I don't use affirmations with the EFT is because, and with other things at this part of the game with numbness, is because they're actually strategies that will end up pulling us away from the body. The body's in agony, and I'm talking about, oh, I'm happy and healthy, and so the mind is going this way and the body is left behind. Absolutely not. That's my theme for this today's little talk, is absolutely not. You're going to come behind here with your little thing. You're going to leave the path of awesome for your survival system and your body, and you're going to help it through its process of being where you are, and pretty soon you guys will be together, and that is where you're going to create sustainable health and wellness, and where all this numbness is going to resolve beautifully. And as your processing starts processing, you're going to notice that things are going to begin to you're going to reconnect. It's just going to automatically reconnect. This is not something you have to say, hey, I want you to reconnect this. Your brain wants what you want too. It is you. And so it knows that reconnection is the goal. And so as soon as there's not so much pain, all of a sudden you'll notice you're reconnecting. It's turning back on. You're feeling more alive. You're feeling more connected. You're feeling more intuitive. You're feeling more like you can, more empathetic and more compassionate, less burnt out, less overwhelmed. All that stuff is that overwhelm and burnout is a lot of this distress brain fog, is a lot of that stuff, and that's what I'm going to talk about right now, that's not getting processed. It's unresolved material moving through your mind body system, not doing what it's supposed to be doing. And because it can't get translated, it can't, that's what I talked about in this last video that I did just right before. I talked about the little stations in the brain and what they do and how they convert this stuff into usable material for us that helps us create our health and wellness, find our words, organize our emotional intelligence, be able to make our emotional intelligence not just in the body as stuff that's choking us out and stressing us out, but actually something that our emotional intelligence that's organized and usable and making our life better. And so this numbness has to go through that process. And if that process is blocked, we don't get it. So what numbness is, if we look at the material that, okay, so numbness is the response to unresolved trauma from your past, unresolved emotional distress. Numbness is overstimulation. Numbness is sensory processing stuff that also falls in my land of trauma processing, because if somebody grabbed you by the arm really hard and there was a lot of pain there, that's a lot of sensory material that you've got to get processed. And so that's a whole thing right there. But with autism, this is a thing. It's the sensory material just struggles to process. So we really want to use these interventions to walk that mind-body system through this natural process. Those things can create a lot of numbness. Rejection, pain, social anxiety can be so painful that it creates numbness. And so you're in your environment socially, but you're numb, you're shut down, you're disconnected, and maybe even dissociated, feeling like you're out of your body. So these things trigger that. They trigger that brain response, and they will until they get processed. And please hear me, it can take a whole lifetime to process these, and they never process. It can get shut down for a lifetime. These things can be flagged by the survival system and be rejected forever, and only to hang around in your stomach, causing you panic attacks and numbness and withdrawal and challenges. So we are just going to escort these guys through the healing process. These guys, this unresolved trauma, this emotional distress, this overstimulation, this sensory processing challenges, those guys are VIP for a little bit here. We're going to walk them through the brain's natural healing process. And what we're going to do is we're going to grab them up. I teach this stuff. And I'm giving you a high level view of this because I teach this stuff in parts of my program in whole little segments, so it's hard to do this on a video, but we're basically going to take their hand and walk them through, and we're going to be using interventions, because while we're activating them through your nervous system and they're becoming available and you're feeling that sensation in your chest or that sensation in your throat, we want to be providing safety signaling to your survival system so that it can realize that this is pain, but we're safe enough to let it process. We can let the upper parts of the brain, the executive functioning, have a look at the data. We don't need to shut things down and turn off those parts of the brain. And we're going to do that with all these guys that are causing numbness. And we can do this pretty quickly. I like to line them up and process very strategically. And what's the word? I like to be very thorough. And so we're getting those guys processed. And then what happens is once we get those past the survival system, these parts of your brain, the executive function, goes to building, rewiring, health and wellness as an automatic function. And so that's gorgeous. So you don't have to worry about that part so much. What you need to do is help get this, all this stuff past the healing process. Okay, let me say that differently. You got to get all this stuff past the survival system. And really, that's why I teach. I have a free training called Interventions for Inner World Transformation, where I share my 3 favorite interventions for working with the survival system, sending those safety signals in its language through the body, right? And so these interventions are weird, but I'm like, try them, see what happens. I used one with a client, actually with somebody who came to my free Q&A. I told her about one that I thought would be a really good match for her based on what she was sharing. She came back the next week and was like, Rachel, it's amazing. It was like I took drugs, but I didn't take drugs. My whole nervous system was relaxing. Exactly. That when we get this right, your nervous system just starts, it's like, oh, the support I needed. And just, so you start regulating, you start processing, things start changing. But we want to find that right match. And so to do that, we experiment. If it's not the right match, throw it out. Get the next one, try it again, see what happens. And keep going till you get one that your survival system loves and that you can use a lot. Okay? And so from there, you can really, as you notice this stuff moving through, or you notice flashbacks can cause numbness. So when you're having flashbacks, it's a good time to use your intervention, your proven intervention, your proven preferred intervention. It's time to use that one. If you're noticing flashbacks, racing thoughts, overthinking, all of these things are pain responses in the brain that lets us know that there's pain moving. This is a good time to talk to our survival system because it's not going to like all that pain moving through our system, right? So we're going to get in there and we're going to say, hey, I know that there's some pain moving here, but you're safe. You're safe. You got this. Let's go. And we send those safety signals in the way that part of the brain can understand easily. We're not going to talk to it and reason with it. We're going to just get in there and work with it as it's designed to be worked with. Okay, so, and then all of a sudden, all this stuff gets processed. Guilt, regret, grief, all of this stuff causes numbness, unprocessed material. Until it gets processed, it's going to cause numbness, if it's causing numbness. Some people, if you have more of an anxious attachment style, you're feeling everything all the time. You're very activated. And so this numbness is not necessarily your thing. And if you do start to feel numb, it usually freaks anxiously attached people out. And so they're like, what's wrong with me? What's happening? And need a lot of support regulating. That's a great time to use your intervention, because while we want to regulate you, we need your survival system open and processing. And so you might not notice as much numbness, but if you do, it's also a source of distress. So same solution. We're going to just talk to the survival system. Hey, there's a lot of stuff moving through the body. Let's let that happen. And you're going to watch transformation after transformation after transformation. And the numbness is going to naturally resolve. The processing will take place first. The numbness will remain. We're not going to get discouraged because the numbness is here. Your brain still thinks you need the numbness. There's still enough pain here that your brain, your survival system is like, oh, we're numbing this out. And so we just keep working. Next thing we know, you wake up one day or you're in the middle of something and you're like, I'm connected. I feel things again. And it just starts to lift. And so we're not going to be, I'm not going to be discouraged by you keep coming to sessions and you're like, I'm still numb. Yeah, absolutely. If I were your survival system, checking out your trauma history, I think that's a good choice that your survival system is making. Let's keep working. And then eventually they're like, I had the best time. I felt so connected. I had the best conversation, right? And you see that the light start to turn back on and the enjoyment start to turn back on. So let's see. I want to make sure I've shared everything that I wrote down. So I've said this, but I want to say it again to be more clear. There's a lot of times, especially if you're working through my program, Inner World Transformation, which is my 8-week process for how I guide people to walk their brain through the healing process that I developed. So I have them go find things and like, okay, we're going to resolve this one. Okay, now you're going to go find this new thing and you're going to resolve that. When we start targeting numbness or we start targeting sometimes a past event, and they'll say, I don't feel anything. That I don't feel anything is what you feel. That's the thing you're looking for. And that's what you're going to target, and that's what you're going to support. And you might use your intervention. Maybe we'll use, I'm demonstrating emotional freedom techniques here, but there's many different interventions. You need the one that works for you. So I'm not trying to push EFT down your throat. But it's an easy one to demonstrate while I'm talking. So, but we can tap with this and just, I don't feel anything. Right? And you can even hear, if I say it like that, you can hear the distress. So you can hear there's that I'm moving distress, I'm activating distress. So I'm just tapping while I might be freaking out a little bit. I can't feel anything. Am I ever going to feel anything? I'm never going to feel anything. Right? Those are what's really moving through your system. And we just want to be honest and moving with it. And that is the emotion, numbness. Right? It's a little twist on it. But that is the material that you're targeting and that you're supporting, and not to take it down, but to work with it. Get this whole distress about it processed. Where you feel this, what's going on, and just process this so that you start to get your epiphanies, your insights, and then your brain tells you more about where you're going to work next. And it'll say, well, we wouldn't be so numb if we resolve this, and then we're going to resolve that. And guess what? You're not so numb. And the mind-body system has a very specific way of communicating that in my program, Inner World Transformation, I am teaching people how to find what their brain is saying and to know what it means and know what to do with it. And so once you start learning your own body signals, all of a sudden you're a whole healing team together. That's awesome. That's really what I'm trying to position people to do in their healing work and in their inner world, is to be that the captain of their ship, a very skillful captain, because we're going to have issues, right? And if you have a history of complex PTSD, you really didn't have the support to learn how to captain well. You didn't have enough support from you. Maybe it wasn't modeled. Maybe there's generational patterns of disconnection, numbness, those sorts of things that also contributes to this numb feeling that you've got going on. So we're actually being connected in places where there's generational patterns is a new build. We have to actually teach your system how to do it because it's never seen it. It never imagined it. It's just never done any work on it. It didn't know that it was supposed to be any different. I absolutely felt that way at times. It was like, and then, you start feeling things and you're like, what is this? What is this feeling stuff? I don't think I like this. right? And so we're going to support the system to create new comfort zones around it, and really sink it deep so that it can sustain it and likes it and reaches for more of it, and then reaches for other people that are also connected. Because if we're numb, we're likely to be, if there's generational patterns of numbness, we're likely going to be gravitating to people that are also numb and also having generational patterns of numbness. Because if people are too connected, our nervous system's like, what is this different thing? I don't understand this. And so there's a whole world right here. There's a whole, if you've got numbness, you start processing and you start this healing journey, you are going to just be blown away by the newness, by things you're like, I never thought that was even possible. You're going to be blown away by the depth of communication, the depth of connection, the depth of joy that you are experiencing. And so, and that you get to build and you get to start feeling safe with. So pretty awesome stuff. So I'm going to read this. Oh, yeah. I'm going to read, there's a comment, so I'm going to read this and then we'll wrap up. If there's anybody else who has a comment or a question, go ahead and post that now. Margaret Frick says, I always enjoy listening to you. Your messages are very enlightening. And she's Colas and Shillaswa Crier's auntie. Oh, that's wonderful. Hello. Hi, Margaret. Oh, so good. So good. I love it when you guys join me and comment. It's fun. So, all right. That's it for today. I don't see any other comments showing up. So, but I just do encourage you not to be discouraged by numbness. I definitely don't want you to feel like it's impossible. It means things. It's meaningful. Yes, it can be really annoying or comforting. That's fine too. But it's absolutely great things to heal with and to really, it's a door. It's a healing door. Back in my mental illness days, I felt like I was just spiraling, walking my inner world, looking for a door out of this disorder, out of the looping thoughts. And I just, now it's like you see, now you do your healing work long enough, you can find the doors. And now I find other people's doors and I help their brains create doors. And it's just really like this numbness is absolutely a healing door. It's absolutely a great opportunity to heal and really thrive. So I invite you to that. And I don't think you have to be as excited about your numbness as I am. I've been around the healing block enough times to know this is a gold mine. But maybe you could check it out. Okay. All right. Happy healing. And or even numb healing. Gosh, you can do so much healing in numbness. You can heal dissociated, you can heal disconnected. There's so much available to you, and some of you will have to. That's the only safe place your brain can create for you, and that's where your healing journey will start, in that numbness and in that disconnection. And there's nothing wrong with that. It's just how it is sometimes. So, and it's just as beautiful as anybody else's healing journey. So I like to say it's no less divine. It's a spot that we humans do. We're just not meant to stay there forever. So we want to get that processing moving, get you out of there, and experiencing other divine things in life. Okay, so wonderful connecting again like I shared, and I'll see you soon. Bye.